Welcome back, everyone. We're here at the Ashina Outskirts, and we're going to start by climbing up this ledge here. Because there's an item. Be careful, because you got enemies wandering around. A good habit to get into is just crouch pretty much all the time. But here we have our first sugar. Ungo's sugar. There's 5 different kinds, and they act as temporary buffs. This one increases your defense, reduces vitality damage taken from physical attacks. They only last for a limited time, and they're consumed upon use, so they're best saved for just before a boss or a mini-boss. Let's come back the way we came. Trying not to get seen by that guy. So how can we come around and get that guy? Okay, he's behind the wall now. So let's drop down. Grab all over to this gate, where we get our first hint at the stealth death blows, because there's a guy right here. Come around closer to him because I can't jump that far, but come over to this side and let's jump and attack. And we get the tutorial on acquiring enemy loot, which you get by either holding square or X. Nothing out here, I don't think. But there's an item over here. And one over here. Be careful as you come this way though, because there's an enemy right around the corner. So don't go too far. Here we get a ceramic shard, which you should equip immediately. They give you the ability to pull enemies by locking onto them and throwing it. And as he comes this way, I can pull off a corner stealth death blow. Now there's another guy at the end here, but there's also that guy that's still up top here. So let's take care of him first. I might grapple right in front of him, I'm not even sure. Oh, there it is. Wait for him to turn his back, crouch, lock on, stealth. Then we can grapple up here, come to the other side, crouch down, and there's a guy right there patrolling this broken wall. He might turn around and see me, but I want to risk it. This is pretty easy to get rid of. And we can collect what he was guarding. Before we leave, you might want to look down, and you can see a platform underneath this cliff. So slowly creep up to the edge and drop off. I suggest dropping off, not jumping. And I also suggest, as you're falling, to hold back towards the cliff. You can kind of move while you're in midair ever so slightly. And pick up an Akko's sugar, which increases your attack power. I tend not to use the candies very much, but it's still worth getting because they sell. So grapple back, grapple up here. And you've got 2 enemies over here, at least one of which, might be both, I'm not 100% sure, have a rifle that can shoot ranged bullets at you. Luckily, your guard works against projectiles just as well as it does against anything else. However, you cannot deflect them. So that makes the rifleman very dangerous. So it's going to behoove us to take them out first. Now, actually, what I'm going to do is something I suggest you don't do. This should come more naturally to you, especially if this is the first time you've played this game. But I'm actually going to die on purpose, because that will net us a trophy. So I'm just going to bum rush him. And notice there's also the guy by the gate there. And we're actually getting a cutscene. Which leads to the other mechanic of resurrection. When you die, you can either die for good and end up back at the sculptor's idol, or resurrect. There's a tutorial about safety rolling. And you come back with half health. And we get our first trophy of the episode. You get 2 charges of resurrection. One is always restored by resting at the sculptor's idol, and killing enemies restores any additional charges. So I'm gonna try to... yes, we know how to use quick items. I'm gonna bail. Try to lose their aggro. And heal up. So, while I'm waiting for the little yellow triangles to disappear, I can better explain the resurrection. You get 2 resurrection nodes. When you die, you can resurrect, which uses up one of the nodes, but it also, you might notice the black streak across my resurrection nodes. It also makes it so you cannot use the second node until you kill at least 1 person. So, you cannot use 2 resurrection nodes back to back. You have to have pulled off a successful death blow at least once in between the 2. Then, when you rest at a sculptor's idol, one of them will reset. The other one, however, will reset, slowly fill as you kill enemies. So now that I've reset their aggro, now I can drop down, I grab onto the ledge, and I can ledge kill that. Scoot over a little bit, climb up, crouch down, lock onto this guy, sneak behind him. Crouch down. Notice I automatically locked on to the other enemy. Get the reeds. And now I can sneak behind him and stab him. No. As you notice, I've unlocked my resurrection nodes again, but the only one I have is not filled up yet because I gotta kill enemies to do so. So collect all the loot. Come back to the gate, get an Ungo's sugar, come back up, and get these 2 items, which is a fistful of ash, and a pellet. Fistfuls of ash, by the way, can be used to distract enemies to kind of drop their guard a little bit, but I never seem to use them. So be careful of this next area, because it has a new enemy. Attack dogs. There's either 2 or 3 of them in here. Luckily, they're extremely easy. They die in 1 hit or 1 deflection. So in fact, you can bum rush them. Attack. And you'll pull the aggro of the other one. Deflect them and jump towards them. Don't get too greedy though, because they can stack you. It's almost always better to be more defensive than it is aggressive. I'll let you know when that's not true. You can come down here to grab this item, grapple up here, and before I activate that sculptor's idol, there's actually one thing I want to do. Let's get to this ledge above me. Just because there's one enemy up here that's really easy. Some free experience. And it's a giant chicken. Do be careful though, don't take them too lightly. They can be very aggressive. But if you just deflect them, they die real quick. So, that guy down, let's drop down. Commune with this idol, and I'm gonna go ahead and rest since I'm missing my healing gorge, and I used a resurrection node. And see, one of the nodes pops back up. Now be careful, because that resets all the dogs and the giant chicken. So we're gonna grapple over to this bottom ledge, not the roof, but the middle one, and go into this hole. On the left is our first shinobi tool, the shuriken wheel. These can be equipped to your shinobi prosthetic to act as little items of some kind, weapons. You get a tutorial about how to equip them. In order to do so, you have to visit the sculptor back at the dilapidated temple. So my suggestion is, every time we acquire one of these, try to make your way back to the sculptor as quickly as possible. In this case, we've got the sculptor idol right behind us, so I'm going to go ahead, take out this guy. And we're gonna go back to the temple. If you've died at this point, then talk to Emma.
変わったことがあったのですか？
ああ、
どのような？
俺はひとたび死んだ。だが、巫女様の声が聞こえ、気づけば再び生きていた。
ひとたび死に、今再び生きている。ならば、それは快晴でしょう。
快晴。
九郎様の流因の巫女の力と言われています。快晴の力を与えられた者は死してなおよみがえる。幾度でも。
バカな。
はい、おかしなことです。ですが現に起きている。また変わったことがあれば知らせてください。快晴の力が何も見返りを求めぬとは思えぬのです。
So the Divine Heir, aka Lord Kuro, houses what's called the Dragon Heritage, and it has something to do with resurrection.
手に入れた。
人具か。
ああ。
忍び義手は牙じゃと言うたが、人具を仕込むことで、その牙は形を変えることができるようになる。仇き盾ならば打ち砕き、素早き敵ならば仕留め撃つ。仕込んだ人具が増えるだけ、敵を殺す術も増えるじゃろう。殺す相手なりの殺し方を持つ。そういうことじゃ。
随分と詳しい。
いかんな。いつまでも血生臭いことを言うておるから、仏の顔も鬼になるのよ。どれ貸してみろ。わしが人具を仕込んでやろう。
So present the prosthetic, fit new prosthetic tools, get a pop-up, and equip the loaded shuriken.
そこにある優しい顔の仏様。そいつには妙な真似をするなよ。
And you get a tutorial about prosthetic tools. there's the booty he's talking about. But what you can do is open up the menu. We've unlocked this row now. Open up that, equip the loaded shuriken, and walk out of the temple, and we get our first spirit emblem. So, there's a little pop-up about that. They automatically get attracted to you, and they are used to fuel the shinobi prosthetic tools. In our case, we got a loaded shuriken, and so you can use right trigger to toss a shuriken. It does good at killing very weak enemies from afar, and it's also very good for enemies that like to fly around in the air. It brings them down to the ground. You can fit, at first, 15 spirit emblems, and anything you get over 15 gets locked away in kind of a bank. And every time you rest at a sculptor's idol, now not only does your healing gourd reset charges, but so do the spirit emblems. They fill back up to 15. Oop, I wanted to travel. So with all that in mind, let's travel back to Ashina Outskirts Wall Gate Path and prepare to take on our next mini-boss. This mini-boss is another samurai general, very similar to the one we fought during the tutorial, except he's going to be a little more aggressive, have a little more defense, and have an extra unblockable attack, known as perilous attacks. What his is, there's 3 forms. You've got stabbing perilous attacks, which have to be perfectly deflected, cannot be blocked. You have sweeping perilous attacks, which must be jumped over, cannot be blocked or deflected. And you've got grabs, which must be dodged away from. They can't be jumped over, they can't be guarded. Before all that though, climb up to the roof, come to the left here, grab this item, and you see over by the banner, I don't know if you can see him, but there he is. And he's facing this gate. So what we want to do, since he has 2 health bars, you can stealth attack mini-bosses just like regular enemies, and it'll take away 1 of their health bars, making the fight twice as easy, because you only have to get through 1 of their health bars normally. So we really want to crouch down, don't get his attention, come around the back of him, just grapple up to this roof, and we can drop down behind him. When you do though, be very careful not to land on one of those 3. They are wooden barriers like those, or one of these carts. If you land on it, you'll break it, cause a bunch of noise, and cause them to turn around. So try to slowly drop in between them. Lock on. Don't hit the braziers either, because those will also break and cause noise. You can pop any of your sugars if you want right now. And there's the tutorial on perilous attacks. He also can use sugars of his own, but it makes him wide open for attacks. So you jump. And what you can do during the perilous attacks, jump and jump again, and you'll jump on top of him, doing massive posture damage. See my posture broke? You can also do a grab like that. Just watch his movements, be mashing that guard button. Try not to let him back you into a corner. See there, he uses sugar, which reduces his posture. You want to jump, jump, and if you attack on the way down, you can also do posture damage. Try to attack him as soon as you see him glowing like that. Anytime you see the sword glint, that's a sweep attack. Oh, that was weird. Oh, well, whatever. It's not jumping off the head, it looks like I'm just jumping in midair. Alright, well when you get them, you get your first prayer bead. And a gourd seed. Most of the mini-bosses will drop a prayer bead, and when you collect 4 of them, you can turn them into a sculptor's idol to increase your posture and maximum health. Just hold down the button to collect his loot. Come over here to pick up this fistful of ash. And now the good news is mini-bosses like him will not respawn when you rest at a sculptor's idol. So with that in mind, since I just got a gourd seed, I'm actually going to go back to that sculptor's idol back here. Watch out for the chicken. Give my gourd seed to Emma to increase my healing gourd charges. It's the tutorial about physical enhancement. That's only pertinent when we have 4 prayer beads, though.
狼殿、よく参られました。
So give her a gourd seed.
ひょうたんの種とこれか。
はい。それをこちらに。種をひょうたんに植え付けます。よし。これで薬水の傘が増すでしょう。
妙な薬だ。
妙ですか。うん。悪い気はしません。貢献があれば奇妙と思うことでも勇んですべし。それが我が師道元の教えですので。
そうか。
ひょうたんの種を見つけたならばまた持ってきてください。薬水のかさ増しをしましょう。ではまた。
So with that done, make sure we actually rest at the sculptor's idol, because when you increase your healing gourd, it does not automatically replenish that charge. Notice I still only have 1 charge. So you have to rest to get that second charge going. Then we can travel back to the same outskirts wall. And we can finally move on. Rebel. Drop down to these roofs, and we get to our first area that I consider difficult. There are several enemies patrolling around this house in the middle. On the other side of that house is caved in, and on the second floor is a rifleman poised to shoot. Way over on the other side, you can see, I don't know if you can see him, but there's a rifleman over there. He'll be joined by another soldier the farther you move in. And on the other side of that, I don't know what you want to call it, raised area, there's a giant enemy, which I'll mention here in a minute when we get to him. So I think the best way to tackle this area is to drop down, kind of go into the left into these tall grass, crouch down, and we're going to drop off this ledge here to the left. Because I'm going to hug the wall, shimmy over. There's an enemy with his back turned right there. Now before I sneak up to do a death strike on him, wait for the group of enemies that's patrolling around in a circle to pass. There they are right there. You've got one soldier in kind of a coat of some kind. They act just like the normal soldiers, they just have a little more attack power and defense. Don't bother using a ceramic shard on this guy, because he's a rifleman, and riflemen will not walk towards where they got hit. They'll just stare. Sorry, they'll just stare at where they got hit, trying to shoot whatever just threw that thing at them. So don't waste the ceramic shard. Come back to the wall hug again, and we're gonna take a long wait for that guy on the other side you see moving to come around. When he gets to us, we're gonna wait for him to walk a little past so that I can sneak up behind him and get him. Or you can use a ceramic shard if you so choose. I like to save my ceramic shards, and you can stealth kill that guy without pulling anybody else pretty easily. Real quick, because you don't want to pull the third gentleman that's coming up real quick here. Oh, the guy just did. So if you pull him, that's okay. Just come back here and face him. That's it. Smash the guard button. And eventually you'll break his posture. Just be very patient with him. So with those two down, there's only one left walking around. So I suggest that you just use your ceramic shards on each of these individuals. If this is your first time playing, it'll guarantee that you can just do a corner stealth blow. So I would have used my ceramic shard on that first guy walking around, and then waited for the group of 3 to make a complete circle, and then use the ceramic shard on the one in the back. And then waited again for them to make a circle, use the ceramic shard on the one in the back again, and so on, until we've killed all of them. So I'm actually going to move up a little bit. There should be one more walking around. I don't know where he went. I don't want to go too far because then that rifleman that's up there might see me. Huh. Alright, well, let me keep going. Ah, there he is. Wonder what the heck he was doing. Alright, so I'll tell you what, while I'm waiting for him to get you over here, you can come over to this. Ledge grab on here, and there's that rifleman. So notice the guy sees me. So crouch down, we want to sneak up and kill him, and then immediately run back to my little safe spot back there. Because there are 2 guys right there on the top of this ledge that might see me. See, they started to notice. So immediately crouch down and leave. There's that guy. Might be able to get a drop kill on him. So let's jump and strike. Crouch. Collect the loot. And then go back to where we started. We're going to get on top of this tower in front of us via the smaller tower. So grapple up here and up here. And then we want to grapple onto this tree above these 2 guys. Which is a little tricky, but you can actually use the grapple in mid-air. So what I would do is jump off of this, and when that little circle turns green, just grapple. And you get an eavesdrop opportunity. Make sure you crouch down just in case.
この戦、果たして勝てるものかのう。どうにも悪い予感がするのじゃ。 何を弱気なことを。両親とはいえ、一心様はご健在。源一郎様の弓も見事なものじゃ。加えて、鬼行部様もおるではないか。おう、鬼は行部正隆様か。確かにあのお方と鬼影が共にあれば、大手門が抜かれるなど考えられぬわ。
A little foreshadowing there. But you can also get a drop kill on one of these two. I like to get this guy. He's a normal soldier, and the other one is a rifleman. And the riflemen are much easier in close quarters than the regular soldiers. You gotta be very aggressive. Heal up again. Alright, try this again. There we go. Alright, and we got our first skill point. More on that later. I also like when I'm out of healing charges, I go ahead and switch over to the pellet just in case I have to emergency heal. So this we have to be very careful with because, unbeknownst to you, there is a giant enemy on the other side of this fir tree right here. He's facing outward right now, so we can drop down right here. Don't go too far or you could fall off the cliff right there. And we can get a stealth kill on him. Once you drop down, though, he's going to start walking forward, so just make sure you stay on him. So we drop down, crouch, there's our big boy, lock onto him, and kill him. You do not want to have to face him normally. They are known as Taro Troop Brutes, and they pack a punch. So, with the whole place cleared out, we can now loot. There's an item down here. A Mibu Balloon of Wealth, which is a temporary buff that increases the amount of sen your enemies drop. There are multiple kinds around. Another item I tend not to use much of. Climb back up to where the first rifleman was, and loot this, which is a ceramic shard. And then we want to be able to climb up to the roof. Let's see if I can latch onto the roof. Yep, there we go. Climb up, and on the nest, there's a Litecoin purse. Okay, so before we go down this main road, cut back to where we first started this little journey. And if you look down, there's some ledges we can drop down onto. And this actually acts as a shortcut so we can bypass this entire area. If you drop all the way down, and on the left, there is a sugar that increases your stealth for a limited time. Grab that, and actually if we walk out onto this tree, can you see it from here? There it is. There's a little outcropping in the middle of this cliff here that has a nice item that we're going to get now. You can jump across this gap here over to this lower platform, wall jump up here, jump, wall jump. Be careful we don't go too far, there's some enemies out here including that guy with the giant cannon. He won't see you from too far, so you should be able to just jump up here to the ledge on the right. And what we're doing is we're going back to where we started. So come over here, drop down, be careful, there's an enemy patrolling on the other side of that gate, and he will go through the gate on his patrol, so make sure he's not there when you get there. We're gonna go all the way back to where we found that item on the edge of the cliff before the mini-boss. this item right here. And if we look down, there you can see the outcrop that we just saw from the other side. Make sure you're healed up before you drop down, because it is going to take some damage. But you're going to want to drop down on there as best you can. You actually are going to have to do a little bit of a jump. So for this, don't hold the left stick completely forward because you'll jump way too far. Just jump and then hold forward a little bit until you drop off. And there's a cave behind you with a bundled Jizo statue, which acts as a replenish for one of your restorative nodes. So when you use Resurrection, you can use the bundled Jizo statue to immediately replenish it. You don't have to wait for a Sculptor's Idol, or if it's the second Resurrection node, you don't have to wait until you kill several enemies. So with that in hand, we can jump over and grapple onto this tree in midair. And we're back to where we started. So now, let's go back to that courtyard area. Now we're gonna go over here. Oop, too high. And talk to this old lady.
おお、伊之助か、せがれよ。若様を見なかったかの。
Say I'm not your
せ
son.
がれではない。
伊之助、またそのような。そなたはわしがおかしくなったというが、さすがにせがれを間違えるわけなかろう。まあよい。せがれよ、この鈴をそなたに託そう。若様のことを案じ、作った守り鈴じゃ。この守り鈴を仏様にお供えしておくれ。
And you get the Young Lord's Bell Charm. If I remember right, it actually doesn't matter how you respond to her original comment. You get the Bell Charm either way. If you talk to her
伊
again,
之助、我がせがれよ。守り鈴は仏様に備えてくれたかえ？ほら、偏屈な仏師がおるあれ寺があるじゃろう。仏様ならそこにおられるでな。
she suggests you offer that bell to the Buddha back in the dilapidated temple. So let's come out here, jump over, and we can talk to this guy.
誰ぞ。そこにおるのか。おう、
Answer him.
その声。いや、まさかな。御神、我が名は野上伊之助。平田家の老頭だった。どうかそこのあばら屋の老婆の様子見てやってくれぬか。私の母なのだが狂ってしまい、もはや誰が誰だか分かっておらぬ。お主の母に会ったぞ。鈴をもらった。そうか。礼を言う。母はその鈴をずっと気にかけていた。上事のように仏様に備えろと。
And if we come back to the bottom of the house, there's a bunch of boxes that we can destroy. Walk in here, but be careful because there's a small exit that we can crouch down here, and on the other side are 2 giant chickens. There, one just went by. But inside here are not 1, but 3 light coin purses. I got their attention. And they're coming around to where we are now, so we can climb out and stealth them. There, with all that taken care of, now we can go find another NPC. Climb back over here. And we want to grapple up to where we dropped down. Double jump back up here. We can, or you can grapple. But we want to grapple up here. Coming all the way up this cliff, we find our first memorial mob.
Gokuyo, ikaga ka ne?
供養
Sayo. 死者たちのご冥福のため品を売っておる。見たところあんたも随分と殺しておるな。ご供養していきなされよ。
So, we also get a trophy for finding our first, effectively, merchant. These are the merchants of the game. They all carry different items. This one has pellets, antidote powder which cures poison, Ungo's sugar, light coin purses, and Robert's firecrackers. 2 things to note specifically are the Robert's firecrackers. This is the only place to get this, and it's a shinobi prosthetic tool, so we're definitely gonna want to get it. And the other thing to note is that they all sell light coin purses for 10% more than they're worth. A light coin purse is worth 100, or you can buy one for 110. So you might go, well, why would I do that? Because when I use it, it's only worth 100 sen. Well, remember that when you die, you lose half of your sen. So, effectively, buying these light coin purses act as a way to bank your money in case you die at the cost of 10% interest, more or less. So what we need to do is get 500 sen to get Robert's firecrackers, and we currently have 198, so we need an extra 400. So you can either back all the way out to your inventory and use the light coin purses to get the necessary amount, or you can actually just sell them, and it makes it much quicker, because they sell for the same amount as they would if you were to use it in your inventory. You should have 5, so use 4 of them, or however many you need if you happen to get that extra 2 that I'm missing. Go back, purchase Robert's firecrackers,
その任
and
務
back out.
この辺りで使うでないぞ。カラスどもがビビっちまう。奴らいかに賢くとも鳥獣には違いないからの。ひどいことはせぬものじゃ。
Alright, and with that done, let's come back here, and we're going to take care of this little area with the cannoneer at the top. There's a cannoneer at the top, there's a guy at the bottom of that gate you might actually be able to see. There are 2 people in the middle talking, you might be able to see them, and there's one walking back and forth right there. So I'm actually going to, since he's right there, let's go ahead and take care of him. And then bail real quick. Make sure you always loot, and you get a little tutorial for sprinting by holding the dodge button. Then come back out, and we're going to try to sneak up behind that cannoneer, which you can do by coming back to this area, jumping across this gap, jumping up here, and we're going to grapple up here. And we get a new kind of grapple point, which instead of grappling to that branch, we're going to use it as like a swing to get to the other side. Crouch down real quick because that cannoneer is right there. Walk over this roof to get to him. And stealth him. And you get black gunpowder, our first shinobi upgrade tool. We'll get more on that later. Go ahead and loot his body. Lock onto this, and we're gonna get a drop kill on him. Wait for him to reset. And we're actually going to rush up. If you rush, the guy he's talking to will see you, but there's a split second where the guy is looking around going, what's going on? And if you're quick enough, you can get a stealth kill on him regardless. That just leaves the one guy left. Just be defensive for now against everyone. Loot his body. And what we can do is come over here. I think we can get to him from here, right? No? Ah, yes. We want to jump and grapple onto this branch. Carefully jump onto the bulk of the branch. And we can drop down here. To get a spirit emblem. I believe it's 2 Mibu possession balloons, which, if I recall correctly, increases the chance of obtaining items. Yep, there it is. It's going to be good when we need to farm for upgrade material. Come to the other side. Don't be frightened by the giant snakeskin, at least not yet. And grapple over here, to the right. To get the scrap iron, another upgrade material. Then we can grapple up here. Come over here. And we want to jump and ledge grab onto there. Or you might not even need to ledge grab. We want to hug this wall and shimmy across. You may notice, by the way, that I got a shinobi prosthetic and I did not run back to the last sculptor idol to equip it. We're coming close to one here in a second. So it's actually best to just wait, because you're not going to need the firecrackers yet anyway. Go over here, we need to jump and grapple. And then we can grapple up here. Start being careful, because as you climb up here, there's a giant chicken on the other side of this raised area. But up there, you might be able to see it, is our next sculptor idol that I was just talking about. So you can double jump, ledge grab, climb up, and commune. Go ahead and rest if you need to, which obviously I do. And let's travel back to the dilapidated temple. If you've gotten a skill point by now, if your experience bar is filled up at least once, you might notice that we haven't been able to do anything with it. Well, once you talk to the sculptor, the first time you get a skill point, he gives you something.
なんだ。
お前さん、勘が戻ってきたようじゃな。ちっとは忍びらしくなってきたように見える。とっておきな。
He gives you the Shinobi Esoteric Text, the first of many skill trees that we can spend our skill points on.
これは
忍びの技じゃ。侍には真似できぬ。忍びの戦う術が書いてある。まあ、どうするかは、お前さん次第よ。戦う術など、忍びだけでもあるまいて。
Then to give you a tutorial about skills.
チリンチリンと、鈴が鳴いてるな。
Talk to him again.
この古い鈴のことか。老婆が仏様に備えろと、そう言っていた。
その鈴、見覚えはあるか？
いや、覚えはない。
鈴の方は違うな。お前さんに何やら言いたいことがあるようじゃ。
なんだと？
鈴を備えてみるといい。そこにある優しい顔の仏様は、わしの彫った仏とはわけが違う。誠の仏師がおられたものだからな。
Then present your shinobi prosthetic, equip the shinobi firecracker,
牙の形を増やしたきゃ、せいぜい人具を探すこったな。乗りかかった船じゃ。仕込むことだけはしてやろう。
and with all that taken care of, go back out. Go ahead and open up the pause menu, equip the shinobi firecracker, and note that to change prosthetic tools, you hit either triangle on PlayStation or Y on Xbox. And you get your tutorial about acquiring skills. So here's our first. They come in 3 forms, that's what that pop-up was. You've got combat arts, you've got martial arts, and you've got, I forget what they're called, but they are just passive abilities. So, with this first skill tree here, you only have 2 options to begin with, the Whirlwind Slash and the Mikiri counter, both of which are going to be indispensable. And we're actually going to get both real quick, but for now, I suggest saving up for the Mikiri counter. It makes it so that you can actually counter the thrust, whatever they're called, perilous attacks. So, travel back to the stairway that we just discovered. Turn around, and there's the giant chicken I mentioned earlier. So let's go ahead and take care of that guy. Notice if you get an opponent's health down to 0, they will fall over dead, regardless if you do the death blow on them. But you still get the option to either way, and it's a good habit to get into to just pull off a death blow regardless, for a couple of reasons. One, it helps replenish your resurrection nodes, and 2, there's 2 different abilities that increase your, it reduces posture damage. No, it reduces your posture and it increases your health upon doing death blows. So it's just a good habit to get into now of always pulling them off. We can drop down here to get our first remnant. If you've been online, then you've seen these already from other players, but this is the first offline one that gives you a little story.
これも平田のものだ。弔ってやらねば。九郎様、エマ殿、平田から逃れてきた者、他にはもうほとんど残っておりません。そうですか。すまぬ。流因を狙う者は絶えぬ。平田の者たちを私が巻き込んでしまった。
And then turn around, and we get to meet Anayama.
おや？見覚えのある顔だ。ああ、忍びの旦那だ。いやー、あの世以来ですね。
Make sure you say it that night, question mark?
あの世とは何だ？
え？旦那、覚えてねえんですか？
あ あ
へえ、なるほど。覚えてねえと。なあ旦那、あっしはあんたに会ったことがある。その頃は賊をやってやした。それから足を洗って物売りを始めたんでさ。が銭がない。銭がないから品もない。そこで旦那、あっしにちーとばかし銭を用立てていただけやせんか。それを元手に旦那にもきっと役立つ品を仕入れやす。それからおまけにあの世のこと話して差し上げやしょう。どうです？悪い話じゃねえでしょ。
So this thief turned merchant is asking for 10 sen as a startup. Go ahead and purchase his information for 10 sen.
銭だ。
旦那、ありがてえ。
話してくれ。
ああ、もちろんでさ。あの世、あっしらは平田の屋敷に押し入りやした。平田はご存知の通りアシナの分家。ちんけな野党なんざ普通は返り討ちです。けど先だっての戦の折だ。若い侍はほとんど出払ってたんでさ。そこを狙って押し入りやして、そんで火をつけ奪った。その最中でさ、旦那と会ったのは。旦那は何かを探してた。そんな風に見えやしたね。あっしが知ってるのはそんなもんでさ。
そうか。
ああ、あの世もちょうどそんな顔してやした。今も何かをお探しで？ねえ旦那、お題さえいただけりゃ他にも知りたいことをお教えできるかもしれやせん。ぜひ情報を買ってください。
So, to further his quest line, all you have to do is pay him the 10 sen startup. You do not have to purchase his information. If you want to, it costs 20 sen, I believe, and he gives you a memo that tells you hints at the location of another shinobi prosthetic tool. Since I'm here to show you where it is already, go ahead and save yourself the 20
いただい
sen.
た銭を元手に品を仕入れてきやす。旦那、楽しみにしていてください。
So now, go back to the sculptor's idol, which you can do by grappling up to this roof. And before I do that, I want to talk about something. There's an eavesdrop opportunity over there we'll do later. But up there, I don't know if you can see at the top of those stairs, is the next mini-boss. And he is extremely difficult. In fact, this is kind of the first make or break point for a lot of first time players. They'll give up after this guy because he is extremely hard. But a way to make him that much easier is to get the shinobi prosthetic tool that Anayama the peddler just hinted at. So we're gonna do that now. We're gonna take a little bit of a detour from the main story to get a shinobi prosthetic. We're actually gonna go ahead and get 2. And to do that, you need to travel back to the temple. Go into the temple itself, and we're actually finally going to use that Buddha statue off to the side. If you've got the bell charm, you'll automatically offer it up, and a cutscene will ensue.
目をつぶり、鈴の声を聞いてやるといい。その鈴の音が呼び覚ますじゃろう。眠っ ちまってる。お前さんの古い記憶を。
So not only are we transported to a mysterious place, but apparently a mysterious time as well. Go ahead and commute with the sculptor's idol. Rest if you need to. And we will explore this strange place that apparently is on fire next time. Until then, stay safe.